So this is the rest of example 5 on page 26, and we're working on part C to draw a stem plot. So the tip tells us that we may need to round or truncate the data to avoid pancakes and skyscrapers. So you can see here I've got the price data in column A, and then in column B I'm going to round the price. So first of all, to make things a little bit easier for us, I'm going to highlight all of our data here from A2 down to A40. And then I'm going to use this sort right here. And I'm going to tell it continue with the current selection. And it sorted it from smallest to largest for me. So this is going to help a lot in terms of making the stem and the leaf plot. A stem and leaf plot is where we have first most of the digits in the first stem column, and then the second column, the leaf, has the next digits, and we keep it in a table. And you can draw these by hand. You don't need to type it in Excel. I'm just doing that for ease of showing you. So next thing we're going to do is round. So over here in column B, I'm going to put the rounded price, and we want to round to, I think the hundreds place would be good. So the stem is going to have the thousands, and the leaf will have the hundreds values. So to do that, we're going to do a formula in Excel. So here in B2, I'm going to type equals round, and then in parentheses, we can put in the cell that we want to round. In this case, we're going to round A2 right next to it. And then we're going to say comma, and where it says num digits, or the number of digits, I'm going to say -2 because we're going 2 places to the left. And see how that rounded 20,415 to 20,400, so we round it to the nearest hundred. So now I want all of the columns to round. So what we do in the lower right-hand corner is hold the cursor there, and you can click and drag your formula all the way down. See, mine's being kind of funny. Yeah, and see how if I drag it down here, it rounds all the way up to there. And then we can keep going and drag it all the way down. Keep dragging all the way down to row 40. And so now all of our data is rounded. And it's in order, which will make our stem and leaf plot much, much easier. So over here for the thousands place, we want to start with 20. And then we'll go to 21, 22. So notice this is going to count all of our columns places here in the left hand. 23, 24, 25. And notice I'm not skipping or not jumping. If there are any gaps, we want that to show in our stem and leaf plot. Oh, we don't need to go past 34,000. So now over here in the leaves, we're going to put in the number in the hundreds place. And because we've rounded, it'll be just one number in the hundreds place. So entry by entry, our first entry rounded is 20,400. So we're going to put just a 4 here for the first entry. Then we're going to say comma, and then we're going to put in the data from our next entry. So the next entry is also 400, so it's going to be another 4. And then the next entry after that down here is 20,800, so that'll be an 8 next in the list. And then following, we have 20,900, so there'll be a 9 here. So see how sorting the data in our ascending order, where it gets larger and larger, has actually helped us not have to sort it. If you're doing this by hand, it's still helpful to type the data in Excel and sort it, and then go ahead and make your stem and leaf plot by hand. Next we come to 21,000 stem, and so there we have 100 in the hundreds place, and then another 100, so we'll put a 1 for the first entry and another 1 for the second entry. When you have repeats, you want to make sure you count those twice, because those are 2 different cars or 2 different sedans here. Then our next entry is 21,300, then 21,900, and that's it for the 21,000s. Then we move on to the 22,000s. So we see we have 22,700, 22,800, another 22,800, so I put another 8 in to hold that place, and yet a third 22,800. Now 23,000, our next entry is even with no zeros, so we'll go ahead and put a 0 in there to hold its place. Oops, and then we need a comma because our next entry is 23,900. Now notice there's no car prices in the 24,000, so that's fine. We just leave that leaf empty. And then our next leaf is 25,500. Then we've got 25,900. Okay. Then next for 26,000, we've got two that are 26,000 even, so we put the zeros in to indicate those two entries. And then 26,800. And then I'm going to have to scroll down. Then another 26,800. See that? Two in a row. So we want to go back and put in that second comma to make sure we get all the 26,800s there. Then 27,000, we've got a 100, 400, 400, and an 800. So we'll put in here 1, 4, 4, and 8. Then 28,000, we've got a 28,000, a 28,700, and a 28,900. So we'll say 0, 7, and 9 for our different hundreds entries there. Then 29,000, we've got 29,000, 29,000, and an 800. So we'll put a 0, 0, 8. And let's see if there's anything after that. Not in the 29,000s. Then we've got 30,100 twice, and then 30,300 and 30,400. Okay, then let's go see what's next. And then 30,700. Next we've got 31,000, nothing in that row. Then for the 32,000, we've got a 32,000 even, so we'll put a 0 in there as a space holder. And then 33,000, we've got a 100 and 700. And then there's nothing over 34,000. So if you look at this, imagine if you could rotate this sideways, see how it looks an awful lot like our histogram or a bar graph. If you grouped them in groups of 2, if you went 20,000 and then jumped up to 22,000, you would see it would look just like our histogram did, because in our histogram we were counting by 2,000s. If you wanted to make a histogram that looked like our stem and leaf plot, you could count by 1,000s. And so you can sort of see if you rotate the stem and leaf plot, it's going to look like the histogram. Let's make a new histogram that counts by 1,000s so you can see exactly how they're alike. So I'm going to go to Tools, Embed Histogram, because I'm on a Mac. If you're on the PC, you'll go to Data Analysis. And remember, our data is A2 to A40. And then we're going to do the same thing, start at 20,000. But now I'm going to have our steps go by 1,000. And our stop value will be 34,000. And if you look at this, you can see this is just the same shape as our stem and leaf plot was. So I'm going to go get the stem and leaf plot and paste it right side by side with this. Okay, so here's our stem and leaf plot. And can you sort of see, if you imagine if you rotated it sideways, it's got the same kind of peak here. Although it looks like maybe we missed something, or I missed something in here, because it looks like one should be one higher. Oh, we're doing rounded data, so you know what if we go back and make it with the rounded prices? Ah. Okay, if we go back and highlight the rounded prices and make the histogram, and we say B2 to B40, I bet the rounding will look exactly the same. So don't be afraid to adjust the bin sizes or the step values in your histograms. Okay, and let's go back and paste in our stem and leaf. And if you look at these, here we go, side by side. These look pretty close, give or take some of the rounding. So both graphs, the histogram and the stem and leaf, let you see what we call the shape and the spread of the graph. So in both of these we can see there's early peaks and then a dip down around 24,000 where there's no cars priced in that. And then it goes kind of up and down a little bit. And then after that it comes down and there's only a few sedans priced close to 33,000.